Hi.
Hi.
Should we start with the usual? My favorite question to begin with is, how are you today in this moment as we sit across from one another?
I mean, I'm so excited to be here
Yes.
with you. Always excited to be with you. I'm also like, I just landed from LA. This is my first trip with my son Ford, just the two of us. My first time leaving my daughters, and I'm also here with my mom. So it's a party.
What is it like leaving your daughters for the first time like this? What does it feel like?
I mean, it's something that I feel like I've been thinking about for
Yeah.
so long, like when that's going to happen. And because I had both of my girls during COVID, I just never have left them. So I feel like it's a good time. It's a good reason to.
Yeah.
Obviously, I had to bring the baby, but I mean, it's fun because I can travel with my mom and she distracts me, and my sister's home with them, as is my husband, so they're fine.
Everybody's good.
They're okay.
What did you tell them about where mommy's
I
going?
was very honest with them.
Yeah.
Like I told them ahead of time. I did all the research on like what's the correct way to do that, what's the best way to leave them feeling secure and also prepared,
Yeah.
like with a plan, because I'm very into having a plan
Planning.
ahead of time.
Yeah.
Shocking. I'm the oldest. So I talked to them about it. Like I just told them everything. I left Chris with like a manual.
Lists. Oh, yeah. What they're
This
wearing.
is how
what
you have them. Yeah.
This is how we do it.
Exactly. Like every single day is planned out. I have little pieces of mail that arrive every single day. I mean, I went full on preparation
Wait,
for them.
let's talk about, okay, oldest child. You're the oldest of four.
Yeah, I
So how would your siblings describe your role in the family?
Probably, I would say in charge
Yeah.
and in control of everyone and everything. And also probably like a mom's helper for everything. Yeah. Mostly also with Christopher, because Christopher is 8 years younger than me. And I'd like everything with my mom with him.
How did you like that role?
Loved
being
it.
the oldest? You did?
Oh my gosh. Thank you for asking me about
Yes.
this, first of all, because I am one of those people that has loved my role as the oldest. And everyone in the past couple of years has been sending me these articles and this research about, the plight of the oldest child and how terrible it is to be the oldest daughter and all the burdens and responsibilities. And I read all of them and I was like, thank you so much for sending them to me. And also I am aware of all these responsibilities and these roles, and I love them. Like it's so my personality. It fits me so perfectly.
Yeah.
I love the responsibility. I love the role. I love being in charge. I love making sure my siblings are exactly where they're supposed to be when they're supposed to be there. Like it's just, I don't look at it as a burden at all.
Yeah. How does your mom like all of the order and having things
With my
just
children,
so-
do you mean?
Yeah.
Well, for example, I was a few minutes late to this interview because she decided to go get a bunch of croissants for Ford, who is not yet one, and come in while I was trying to feed him and put him down so I could come to this interview. And she came in and started, my boyfriend, look at my little boyfriend. And they fully flirt with each other, and then he gets distracted and I'm like, I'm done. I have to leave now. So,
Sometimes the eldest, and I'm just thinking about my family. In our family, the eldest was like the one who they tried everything out on. Like they were harder on the oldest.
for sure.
And then as it went down the line, it was
No
like
rules.
nobody cared
No.
at the end.
None.
So you were kind of in that place where you
Yes.
got most of that.
100%.
And you were fine with all
Christopher,
that?
zero.
Zero.
No.
He could do
Patrick
whatever.
and Christopher were very, very lenient with the two of them.
Yeah.
Still had, rules and chores and things like
Yeah.
that. My dad was really big on chores.
What were yours? What did you have to do?
Oh my gosh. I mean, very strict on them. We had to make our bed every morning, do our laundry, open our curtains, turn off our lights, clean our bedrooms, clean our bathrooms, fold our clothes properly, clean up after ourselves. If we didn't clean up after ourselves, our belongings went into the fire.
Wait,
Yeah,
what?
my dad was very serious.
Wait, what do you
and
mean into the
intense.
fire?
No, like if they were just laying around, they were disposed of, because he said, obviously you don't care about them and you need to have responsibility with your
Wow.
belongings. Yeah.
So that would be the last time
And I was
leave
like, I
anything
cannot
out.
believe that you're doing this, and this is just terrible. And I remember I was picked up and brought home from a semi-formal because I didn't take my clothes out of the dryer and fold them. And I was like, this is terrible. Like, who does this? And I'm like, I'm going to do this exact same thing with my children now. So, it all comes full
Did
circle.
you rebel like most kids?
No, I'm the oldest
Yeah,
child.
you
We don't
can't.
rebel.
Yeah.
We don't do that.
You
I'm
get
like,
in
yeah.
line.
And I feel like I rebelled in different ways. You know, like when you're growing up, especially in adolescence, you find different ways to have your version of rebellion.
Yeah.
And mine was with who I would date when I was in high school. And but I feel like I had a lot of calm in my life and an outlet really at the barn, which is why I wanted to write the book, because I feel like it was, for me, anytime I had a sense of wanting to rebel, or, you know, which is normal for teenagers and when you're growing up. And for me, I channeled that, and I would go to the barn and like ride my horse and get my
Let's
piece
talk about
there.
you and animals, because I think that's, first of all, it's been a passion of yours since you were little, forever. What was the initial draw? Like what feeling did you get from being around animals that maybe you didn't even get among your friends?
Definite, just instant calm and peace.
Yeah.
I think from a very early age, my mom will always talk about that I just loved being in the presence of animals from the moment I was born. And as I got older, I found that in the presence of dogs, in the presence of rabbits, and, you know, any sort of nature, and definitely in the presence of horses. And I always say to people, you don't have to be in the presence of a horse to have the benefits of feeling calm and peace. It's really any animal. And people who, you know, have that love with animals, or who've had that experience with animals, know exactly what I'm talking about when I say being in their presence gives you this calm and peace that most of us can't find anywhere else. And for me, I think that was definitely what I had with Brandy and what I had at the barn, and just being in the presence of these amazing animals that just gave me the ability to take a deep breath and just be.
Brandy, your horse, was the feeling of calm you talked about. Like you would sit there and you would get, I think you described yourself not like an outcast at school, but somehow you felt more comfortable with the horse than with friends. What were you like in school, and why was he so important in your life?
I mean, I think my mom really allowed that to be a nurtured relationship, because she felt that with her horse growing up. And I know she's talked to you about that a lot, but I think she understood that the barn was a safe place for me, and also a place where I could just be myself. And when I was growing up, being a horse girl was not in fashion like it is now. It was something that people made fun of me for. They're like, oh, you and your horses, you know, you like being around animals, you're lame, or you're not, you know, like interested in going out and partying like we all are. So I was with her every single day after school. I went to the barn. I did my homework in the barn. I just felt like it was a place that was removed from the high school drama and chaos, and also everything else that was going on around me. You know, there were a lot of things going on around me. Like my dad was running for governor. I had, you know, my siblings. There's high school drama. There's changes at, you know, in home dynamics and everything. So I felt like the barn was just a place I could step out of all of that and just be myself.
When I was reading this book, first of all, there are so many beautiful things in the book. It's the illustrations, everything. It's called Cat and Brandy. And a couple of things struck me. I mean, one was, first of all, that this came from a true place in your life. You'd fallen off a horse, and that happened. And what I love about this, one of the things I loved about this book, is when the child, you, falls off the horse, and your mom doesn't sort of say, well, let's get back on. Like, I think my inclination would have been like, okay, you can do it, get back on. It sounded like, at least according to the book, that she was like, well, when you're ready, you do you. You can sit on the side. You don't have to rush into it. I kind of like that feeling, because I think so many parents are shoving their kids back in when they're not ready.
It's like a happy medium.
Okay.
So like when I would fall off when I was younger, my mom put me right back on.
Oh, just right back
on. Because, and you know, really with my own experience and in this book, it was really when the moment happened of falling off, the importance of getting right back on after, you know, of course, you're checked to make sure you're surviving. But getting right back on really doesn't allow you to develop a fear with a horse, and allows there to be potential moving forward to overcome that fear. Once that was established, you know, and I would get back on the horse, I then went from, okay, I'm fine being back on the horse, and I had such a love and desire to just take care of the horses. I just loved going there and brushing them and taking care of them. And I see that with my daughters now too. It's like this really therapeutic experience for them to caretake for the horses and also just animals in general. Like we have chickens and I watch them caretake for the chickens. And, when I was little,
really?
we do have chickens now, Hoda. It's a whole thing.
God.
I know. But like, even when I look back at pictures, my mom has so many pictures of my sister and I brushing our dogs when we were younger. And I think that that's very therapeutic for children. So I definitely grew up having this experience of falling off. My mom had me get back on, and I was very timid to start riding again, like after that moving forward. And I just felt comfortable going to the barn with my mom, watching her ride and marvel at her ability to do it, and also taking my time to get comfortable around the horses.
Right.
And I think that that's what she did really well. She was, she wasn't like, you have to compete, you have to do this, you know. And she asked me all the time. Every single time we went to the barn, are you sure you don't want to compete? Are you sure you don't want to go do that? And I, just took my time getting comfortable around the horses. And that's really what I did with Brandy is I took a lot of time. She was very, not trusting of humans, and I wasn't very trusting of horses. And we together had this ability to work through our fears alongside one another and overcome them. And that's really why I wrote the book, was to show that you can be afraid of something, you can work through those fears and be brave and overcome them. And also the healing power of animals is such a profound one that I have been able to experience in so many different ways, and that other people have as well. And the benefits for having that around children are just incredible.
What did you lose the day Brandy passed away?
Oh my God. So much. I think, for me, Brandy was like my best friend. And she was, when I was growing up, and I actually heard my mom talk about this when she was talking about her horse that was similar to what Brandy was for me. And it's like the first love of your life. So for me, I think Brandy was definitely that for me. And when she passed away, I was like, I still look back, I'm 35, about to be 36, and it was definitely the most traumatizing experience of my life. So it was a huge loss, and
how old were you?
I think I was 17 or 18. I was a senior in high school. And it was also an interesting experience because it felt that nobody around me understood that except for my mom. Like my mom was like, I get this for sure. Like I've been there. I get it. Because, people lose their dogs and their home pets a little bit later. And so I think that no one around me had really experienced
Understood it. When your daughter fell off the horse, were you, first of all, as a parent who
I
likes
flew.
control, you must have lost it.
Yes.
What did you do?
It was interesting because I had always thought of when that would happen. And I was riding with both of my daughters, and she fell off a horse for the first time. And so I, of course, leapt off of my horse and ran to her. And I sat with her and let her cry about it and be upset about it. And, of course, made sure she was okay. And then I took her back over there, and she's like, I don't want to get on. I don't want to get on. And I'm sure every parenting expert is going to tell me this is not a good thing to do. But I sat with her, and we took our time, and I wanted her to get back on because I didn't want her to at 5.
Right.
Be afraid. She was 4.5 at the time. I didn't want her to have that fear that just lasted with her forever. So we took our time and, sat with the pony. We sat on the ground with the pony, and we slowly worked her way back up on the horse again.
She got back on?
She was thrilled to call my mother right after and tell her the entire story of how she fell off, the whole thing.
I got back on.
Yeah, it was like a proud moment for her.
It's funny because this book does talk about fear, like all kids have and grown-ups. What keeps you up at night these days?
I mean, my children. Anyone who has a baby right now knows exactly what I'm talking about. I'm up several times at night with one of my kids. I feel like lately they are at a phase where they definitely want to be around me and my husband and at all hours of the night. So they like to come in. But really,
what keeps you up at night? Like, what kind of fears keep you up at night?
I mean, I think probably just things like, did I handle this properly today with my kids? It's always around my kids.
Yeah, same.
I think it's always like, when I made my daughter sit at the dinner table, did I handle that properly? Did I handle that communication properly? I think, social media has so many amazing blessings and also challenges that come with being fed parenting videos all the time about what you're doing that is going to damage your child forever, or, that if you do this, it's going to end up in this negative form of attachment, like all of these things. And So I feel like that kind of stresses me out at night.
How do you comb through? Because I feel the same way.
Yeah.
I mean, I'll look at a video one night and realize how poorly I handled, or at least I feel like I handled something with my child. And sometimes you're like, should they cry it out? Should I be nurturing?
Yeah.
Are they too, are they too clingy?
Balance.
They're not independent. What
Yeah.
am I doing? What parenting things did you take from your mom? And which things did you leave behind and say, I'm not going to do that the way my mom did?
I really think that majority of everything from my childhood, I tried to do it with my children. I know a lot of people look back on their childhood and say, like, I want to do everything differently than the way I loved my childhood. I looked back at it and I think that it was such a magical place my parents created for us to grow up in an environment. There are certain things that I think they just didn't have the language to talk about, whether it's big feelings or I know my mom always talks about the fact that I have a schedule for my kids as being very foreign to her. So I think that I'm doing differently. I think talking about feelings and emotions very openly wasn't something that they had the tools to do back then that I'm really trying to do now with my kids, and is also a very different experience even for my husband to be able to shift that, because that's not how he grew up at all. And my mom was ahead of the game with how she talked very openly with us kids about our feelings, and also really talked openly with us about repair. And so if she did something that maybe she didn't like the way she handled something, she would come and repair that with us and have a conversation with us, which was very ahead of the game for her. And so that's something that, like, Chris and I are always learning how much of that to do, how little of that to do, how do you find that balance, especially as partners, and also just with kids, wanting to raise kids that are in touch with their emotions, but also understand the world around them and moving forward and working through them.
And how do you teach things, and I've thought about this too, like grit? Like someone was, we were talking about how this generation of kids, and probably the last couple too, have more attention, more resources to get better. Some are on more meds. But yet they're not moving forward because the grit piece isn't there. But how do you teach that? Like, what's your philosophy on that?
I mean, I think that it's a combination. I know there's like a huge wave of parenting that's going one direction of like too much coddling. It feels a little bit like it's coming back to a happy medium now. I would say just, my kids are so young still, but I mean, we have chores. If they don't do their chores, we have, conversations.
What do they do?
They're age appropriate chores for right now. But like for Lila, she has to clear her plate. She has to put her things in the dishwasher. She has to pick up after herself. She, skipped a step and likes making her bed, which thrills my father. So, I mean, they feel so proud of themselves after they do things like that. And I think we have conversations with them about, like, how to get along with one another. Like, my middle child, Eloise, is very different than her older sister, but still feels really proud when she can line up all her stuffies in a row, and she's now starting to want to clear her plate and copy it because she sees that Lila's doing it. So it's really sweet to see their dynamic, and also I think as they get older, we fully want to be able to instill that need of awareness around, like, if this doesn't happen, then this doesn't happen, having consequences that are age appropriate for them, things like that.
I think it's cool how you were saying that you and Chris are, like, he was raised one way, you were raised another way, and yet you found this place. Because I think a lot of people think, well, look how I turned out, I'm great, and I was raised that way. I mean, everybody says that, and yet at the end of the day, we can do better. But we think what we had was best. How did you find that kind of in-between place that brought him?
Honestly, doing our premarital counseling before we got married was so helpful, and we still do couples therapy today.
That's great.
And that's been really helpful for us to be able to have those conversations about parenting, about, work, about finances, about our relationship, communication. And it's really taught us a way of communicating and understanding one another that I don't think we would have been able to do had we not had this place of having that form of communication.
Interesting. Yeah. I mean, speaking about things like, when you think about finances, parenting, like things that you think are almost, we'll figure that out. It's no big deal. We don't have to address it.
Yeah. When we were engaged, we had to do premarital counseling as part of getting married in the Catholic Church. And so when we did it, I was like, oh my gosh, this is so silly. We're needing to do this, but also great because we got engaged after 6 months of dating. So I was like, this could be good.
Kind of did this ding ding.
But we did it, and we did these 8 courses, and they were 2.5 or 3 hours each course.
Wow.
And we covered everything, like every single thing that you thought, I don't need to talk about this. Like drugs, we talked about addiction, we talked about finances, we talked about fidelity and how we want to raise our kids, what religion we want to raise our kids. I mean, everything.
What was the toughest nut there to...
I mean, honestly, there was so much of it that I felt like I knew what his answer would be, but also led to really eye-opening conversations. Parenting being a big part of it.
Yes.
Because, when I met Chris, he had a son already, which was such an amazing blessing to be able to witness, his interaction with him and being a father. And then being able to talk about his experience, but also what I had as like a vision for myself because I didn't have children yet. So I wanted to be able to have those conversations and where I might differ in my opinion. And I think it really, it also is shown in subjects like that are talked about in this book, like overcoming your fears. How do you want to handle that? How do we handle those conversations as parents with our children, or bravery or courage, or even having animals around your children? Like, what's your, like, do you want the responsibility? Are you somebody who doesn't want that? There's all those conversations. We talked about it all.
Wow. And one of the things that you guys have that's probably paramount in your relationship is your faith. And I feel like that was one of the grounding things. How does faith play out for you on like a random day like today? Like, how is it incorporated in your daily life?
Well, I think in our daily lives, we pray at meals, which is something I did growing up and something that, Chris was a really big fan of doing as well. And he does on his own too. So we have that as part of our daily routine. Every morning I wake up and I pray right away. Like, I thank God for allowing me to wake up. I thank God for all my blessings, and same thing right before I go to sleep. So it's definitely a big part of our life and my life and our kids' lives, and has been a big part of my life my whole life. Obviously both my parents, my mom, very much so, my grandma. So it's been present in my life and a huge value of mine that we definitely connected on that way.
You said, when you sit around the table, you said you pray before. And one thing Maria always talks about are her dinners.
Yes.
And one day, it was so funny. We were at the Today Show, and there was a song by like Idina Menzel called "At This Table," and I heard it, and I got chills. I'm getting chills now. And I played it for your mom, and she kind of ran away from me. I was like, "What is up with Maria?"
I've scared her.
She was like, and I went up to the makeup room, and she was crying.
Oh, I'm sure.
She was like, "Oh my God, this is," because I said, "This is you." I sent it to her. I go, "I think this is you."
I think she showed it to me right after you sent it to her.
Yeah. But that whole, I mean, I can imagine what the meals must be like and the conversations.
Lively.
How did that play out for you as a kid? And is it something you replicate, or is that left to your childhood?
No, I mean, we go to my mom's every Sunday for dinner, so it's definitely a huge part of my routine and something that I look forward to, and now my kids look forward to.
Who comes to the table? Like, what is that?
I mean, it's random. Let me tell you. There are the staples every week, which is our family. Yeah. And then you never really know who you're going to... Like, Chris always says this. He's like, is tonight one of those nights that I go and I wear sweatpants, or do I need to dress up? Because who's coming to dinner? I'm like, you never know. Like, you don't know. It could be a world leader. Yeah. It could be a politician. It could be an actor, a singer. It could be our neighbor. Yeah. It could be our longtime friend or a family member. Like, it is always.
And what are the conversations? Where does it go? Like,
I mean, it's always something new. And it always usually leaves somebody in some sort of like emotional experience of like a revelation of something about their lives, or it's always very lively, very at sometimes chaotic, but the conversations are, and people want to come to the dinners. Like, everybody's like, when can I come to Sunday dinner? Because they're so, I mean, the conversations that come from them are just incredible. And also the relationships and the connections. Like, my mom, as you know, is a connector. Like, she loves setting people up, literally. And also she loves being able to like connect friends, connect people who might work well together, start relationships, friendships, and also just introduce people to one another. So it was really how I grew up. And I feel like she also invites people over who have different viewpoints, different belief systems, because that's how I grew up. I mean, my parents had different political backgrounds. And so I grew up with people having different opinions and being respectful of that and just talking about it. And she really exposes people to that same experience now.
One of the things that was really jarring, I'm going to bring your mom up one more time, was when she wrote her book.
Yeah.
And I read those pages.
I know. Sobbed, right?
Sobbed.
I know, me too.
I just was like, because I guess I just didn't imagine someone who is, where she is, who was on her knees like that continuously, it sounds like, through parts of her life.
Yeah.
What was it like for you as her daughter, seeing and reading all that?
I mean, I was sobbing. When she first gave it to me, she, of course, didn't even give me any lead-in. She's like, so I was thinking of, I collected all of my poetry, and I knew she was really interested in poetry, of course. But she handed it to me, and I was like, okay, I'll read this. And I think I was pregnant at the time, and I was like, I'll read this. What is it? And she was like, it's kind of just a collection. I'm playing with the idea of just collecting all of my poems. And I was like, okay, that's great. And I remember I had it at my house, and I picked it up one evening and I read it. And I remember I started reading it, and I called my mom and I was like, what is this? I was like, whoa. I just you need to give people a warning before you throw this on them.
Hey,
because
just thought I'd put some poems up.
I mean, it is deep and also intense. And I admire my mom with every single role and every journey she's gone through. But the poetry was just next level, and I was hysterical. And of course, so proud that she had the ability to put all that down and to create all of that, but also it was, as her daughter, very eye-opening, admirable, heartbreaking, of course, at times, and very raw. It was like the rawest thing I'd ever seen my mom put out.
A couple of things in her poetry book, of course, were really moved me. One was sitting in front of her mother's door, which was devastating, and the other was about your dad, her husband, during all of that time, and then the public square, and how she described everyone kind of has their own public square. I thought that was super brave, and I hadn't heard her discuss that before.
Either.
That must have been oh God, what's happening here, Mom?
It's like, whoo. Yeah, but I mean, I think for my mom, my mom always had talked to me and my siblings growing up about trusting your gut with things. And when she first said that to me when I was younger, I was like, what does that mean?
Yeah.
I can't trust my gut. And she always does that, and she leads by example in that way. And I think with her book, or whatever she does with her amazing work that she puts out there, she always trusts her gut with what she thinks is going to help someone or help her heal or move forward. And I think that's what she did clearly with the book.
Having conversations with little kids, which is what, I've had to have many conversations with my girls about lots of things. One of them is adoption, which is it's like an unusual topic because mommy, and I always said, you're born in my heart, honey. You weren't born in my tummy, you were born in my heart. And that went on for a few years.
Right.
And then I was walking behind Haley, and she was walking with another little girl, and they pointed out someone was pregnant. And she was like, oh, I came from my mommy's tummy. And Haley goes, I didn't. I came from my mom's heart. And the kid was looking at her like, what? And I go, Haley, so I'm going to amend what we said.
Just take it back a
That
notch.
was true. However,
that's so sweet.
I said, actually, Haley, everybody's born from somebody's tummy. And I said, and since I couldn't hold you in my tummy, God did something really cool. He sent this really great angel mommy person to carry you, and her job was to carry you and bring you to me. She said, is she out there? I said, yeah, somewhere. We don't know where, but she's somewhere. Okay. And so she understood that she came from someone, introducing little by little.
These questions that they ask, you're just like,
no.
Where's the manual?
Yeah. Have you had to have any kind of tricky conversations with your kids, or things that you had to explain?
I haven't had a ton of them yet.
Yeah.
However, my girls are very curious. So they ask questions all day long about everything, from the person walking by them, what color hair they have, to someone's outfit, to a dynamic between two people. They watch my parents together, and they just like stare at them, ask a bunch of questions, keep staring at them, take it all in, ask some more. They're just like, so I'm waiting for
them.
For
You wait
questions.
for them to ask. You don't volunteer anything. Yeah.
No,
same.
I don't. I really take my cues from what they see as being a question or something that they want to know more about, and also having conversations with them that are age appropriate. I try to prep ahead of time with things that I think might come up, but I really do take their lead with certain things. And then I read somewhere when kids ask questions that you ask the question back to them to kind of see where they're at maturity wise.
Oh, that's interesting.
So like recently my horse Cinco passed away, and I spent the past 2 years, of course, writing this book, getting it to where it is, and talking about my horse Brandy and talking about my love for her and my love for animals. And I got Cinco around the same time, a little bit after I got Brandy. And so he's been in my life for 24 years. And so he's been a huge presence and a huge figure in my life of, not only being able to witness so much of my life, which is such a gift, but also, he's where I went to have peace and have calm so much of my life. And whether it was in high school, in the first breakup I ever had, or my parents getting separated, or moving or going to college, I always went to the barn to be with Cinco. And so that was a huge loss for me. And my kids had all been around Cinco and, had a lot of experience around him, and they knew that he was older. But when I took them to the barn after he passed away, they, of course, were wondering where Cinco was. And so I had a very open, honest conversation with them that I had actually asked my mom beforehand, like, how do I navigate that? And I talked to them about it, and they said, where is Cinco? Where did he go? And I said, Cinco went to heaven. And they said, what do you mean he went to heaven? And I said, God decided it was time for Cinco to go to heaven. And I looked at my daughter Lila was like, he went to heaven? And I was like, he went, because you never know their reaction. Like, is it,
Right.
She's like, he went to heaven? And I was like, yes, he did. And then Eloise was like, is he in his stall in heaven? What's he doing in heaven? And I was like, I don't know. What do you think he's doing in heaven? So it led to this full, long, really interesting conversation about what they thought he was doing, who they thought that he was with. Was he running free again? Was he eating carrot? Like, they used their imagination to really create a world where Cinco passing away was like this beautiful, amazing, and exciting world in their mind where he could just be young and run around and eat whatever he wanted and do whatever he wanted. And it was really exciting for them. And they still had times where they were like, when am I going to see Cinco again?
Yeah.
So understanding that wouldn't be something that they're going to, they're not going to be able to see him again. But that was an interesting conversation that I didn't anticipate having it go that way, but also looking at, life and death in such different ways and looking at it through the eyes of a child and seeing how they interpret that and they understand that. And so it was just, one of those conversations. Yeah.
That's so beautiful.
Yeah,
and also hard for you because you're going through something, and to watch your kids.
To pull it together, I'm like,
yeah, you're like,
cry.
I can do this. I can do this. You obviously take care of your mental health and all that stuff. So what do you do? Just tell me some things that you do on a daily basis that helps you. Because I think a lot of people who listen to this podcast are looking for ways that they can make space for themselves, feel good. What do you do?
Transcendental meditation.
So good.
Big for me.
Yeah.
I do it every morning, and then I try to sprinkle another one throughout the day, but sometimes it doesn't always happen. But that practice for me, which has been for a year and a half, has been really incredible for me and allowed me to have a practice that I can find my inner calm and center myself. And I always watched my mom do it, and I was like, I don't understand what she's doing. Well, okay, she's sitting outside by herself, like doing something. But I really have been able to experience the benefits of having that be a practice in my life. And it's changed the way that I am as a mother, as a wife, as a friend, and as a sister and a daughter. And so it's just changed me in so many different ways that I would say to anybody who's questioning it, it's an amazing thing to have in your life. I think you also have to be at a place in your life where you're willing to receive it and implement it into your life, because my mom did try to have it be a part of my life when her and my dad separated, and I was like, what is this? I'm not doing this. This is not for me. So I think you have to be in a place where you're ready for it. I would say I do therapy. I have therapy every single week that has been really incredible for me. I love being able to have that as a place that I can communicate, ask questions, ask parenting questions, life questions, and step parenting questions as well, because that, I like to be able to gather information and prepare. And I would say spending time with my kids, but also having something that I can do that's just with my husband and I is also really helpful. Very challenging to do and to find that time. And I think just being gentle with myself. My mom always says that to me. She's always like, be gentle with yourself, give yourself grace. You're doing great. And so I try to also have that be a part of my life every day when I'm, if I'm critical of myself or wish I was doing something differently, or just having that in my mind to be gentle with myself is really important. And also moving my body. That's a big one for me. What do you do there? I take my kids on walks all the time. I go to the barn, we horseback ride. I love being out in nature. I take a lot of walks. I used to hike a lot. So anything that will really get me moving my body.
And lastly, if you had a day that's all yours from the moment you opened your eyes to the moment you fell asleep, and you could fill it any way you wanted, you had no obligations, nothing you had to do, but you could do what you wanted, when would you wake up? How would the day unfold? And how would it wrap up?
Bright and early. I'd wake up. I've always been an early riser my whole life. And I would wake up early for sure. And I honestly would probably spend the entire day at the barn, because I would spend it by myself, and I would also spend it with my kids and my family and my friends. I've been able to have so many amazing moments in my life at the barn and in the presence of animals. And it's truly like my ideal day. And I remember being pregnant with my daughter Eloise, and I was at the barn, and Chris was walking around with Lila, and I was laying on the grass outside of my horse's stall, and I was just like in absolute heaven and bliss. And he was like, I've never seen you be so at peace as you were, like laying there in the presence of being in nature with horses and just being. So for me, if I had an ideal day, I would spend the entire day there. And it's where Chris and I had our first date. It's where I had my bachelorette weekend.
Really?
It's where I, did wedding prep there. I've taken my kids there. I've been pregnant there. So I think for me, being able to go back there with like my loved ones is my ideal day.
Beautiful, beautiful. You got to pick up the book. It's called Cat and Brandy by Katherine Schwarzenegger Pratt. Katherine, thank you.
Thank you.
Hey, thanks for watching. And don't forget, you can catch the Today Show every morning on NBC, or take Today when you're on the go. Just follow the Today podcast on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or wherever you listen.